We appreciate you being here with us this evening. We're going to start tonight. First of all, I would like to excuse Councilmember Severn. He has joined us on Zoom. He's taking care of home, and I'd like to excuse Charlotte tonight, Councilmember Extra, who's away with family members. So I believe that Councilmember Barker has agreed to fill in for Councilmember Severn this evening by offering us an invocation or thought for both, and then us a pledge of allegiance.
All right, we'll just do an invocation tonight. Our Father in heaven, we're grateful that we can gather as citizens of North Ogden to discuss items concerning our community. We're grateful for the opportunity we have tonight to have some civil discourse, and please bless that we'll all remain civil and that we can have a good discussion. Bless us that we'll be able to do what's best for our city. These things we say in Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilmember Barker. And I'll move into our consent agenda. Hopefully, council members have had a chance to look through the packet that was sent out last week. All right, is there any potential conflicts of interest that you'd like to disclose this evening? There none, so we'll move forward considering there are no conflicts. Next item on our agenda tonight is our public comments. Some of you are here for the first time this evening, so let me just kind of remind you how that works. If you'd like to make a comment, I'd invite you to step up to the podium, state your name, and if you're a resident of North Ogden, and public comments are limited to no longer than 5 minutes. So if you're getting close, I'll let you know. But if you limit your comments to no longer than 5 minutes. I know issues carry a lot of emotion with it. I would encourage all of us tonight as we have discussions that we don't let that be the lead on our discussion, but we look at reason and facts and go from there. But we're just glad you're with us tonight to make comments. So now would be the time if you'd like to comment on anything this evening. Please step up to the podium and state your name if you're a resident of North Ogden.
Hi, my name is Jason Westbrook. I'm a resident of North Ogden. I'm also the owner of Big O in North Ogden. We've been in North Ogden for 24 years now. We built the business from the ground up, started everything, and we've grown the business. We're completely out of room. We've looked for places for parking. We've looked for overflow. We haven't really found anything. We've always parked on the streets. We used to actually park customers' cars out on the street, and then we realized, that's not a good idea. We need to put our own cars out there. So for the past 5 years, we've been putting all our employee cars out on the streets. Last Friday, we had a little bit of a snowstorm. We had the police come in and tell us that we need to move our cars off the street. To see what it entails, right now there's me and my business partner, and we employ 25 people. So we have 27 people there at any given time. So last Friday when the police came in, we had my partners and my store manager in the store parking, and we had 18 employee vehicles out on the lot or out on the parking. We've done this for years. We've never had a problem. For the most part, whenever the snow plows come through, it's at night. We're out there from maybe 6:30 in the morning till 6:30 in the night. I was looking to see if there's any way that we can do anything on the city ordinance on parking on the street during snow to accommodate businesses to help with that growth. It's just gonna keep getting bigger. I don't know. We've tried and approached every situation. I don't know if there's anything else that we can do there, but that's something that I would like to approach you with to see if there is a possibility of making a concession on that article for businesses to allow the on-street parking. Like I said, we've been doing that for 24 years to where we've had vehicles out on the street and we've never once had a problem. I can probably count on one hand how many times we've had a snowplow come down there during the day. But just wondering if there's anything that we can do there.
Council, Jason, did you have a chance to talk with Mr. Hess?
We have, I've spoken with him. We're looking at, so when we did the original proposal for the building, I pulled out the plans today, and there's the plans for the building and the plans for the lot. In the plans for the lot, there was actually additional 8 parking spots that were supposed to be there that I couldn't figure out why they weren't there, so I called my brother Mike. I purchased the business from my brother Mike in February. I called my brother Mike and he said that he had approached North Ogden City with those plans and they said, no, you cannot have that. When I was talking with Scott, he was saying that we need a minimum of 4,000 square feet of green space. Right now, looking at it, we have over 9,600 square feet of green space. So I don't know if they changed that after the fact. It was built in 99, so I don't know if it changed from being 9,000 square feet to 4,000 square feet. But for some reason those plans were rejected and we lost some of the parking then.
Maybe we need to relook at that with Scott. If there's excess green space, perhaps that could become parking. So Scott, could you work with Jason and maybe see what might work there?
We planned on that and I've talked with Scott about it and taken the plans to him and see him. I just need something I need something in between, and that's still not gonna give me 18 parking stalls. So I'm asking if there's any way to make any concession on that on street parking.
I would ask maybe Scott, you work with him to see what potential there might be, because obviously it would have to be limited to certain areas, whether it's business or whatever, because otherwise it'd be a disaster plowing the streets.
Yeah.
So could you maybe work with Scott to see a presentation maybe to the council what alternatives might be?
Okay.
I'm willing to at least council here what the potential opportunities would be.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Appreciate
Thanks for
you.
coming tonight.
Thanks for your time.
John, is there anyone online joining us this evening?
There are 2 people on there right now.
So 2 people online, would you keep an eye on that to see if there's any comments? Okay, I see no one else that would like.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm interested in making a comment about the
Can you step
numbers.
up here at the podium, just tell us your name?
I'm Leanne Lippert, and I am a resident of North Ogden. I would like to make a comment about number 3 on the agenda, but I'm not sure if now's the time.
Yeah, that would be the
Oh,
time.
okay. I lived in North Ogden all my life, lived in the same, area all my life. And several years ago, we were so shocked to wake up one morning and see across the street, they were building 2 5-plexes right in the middle of a block. And it turned out to be a very emotional, long road for us as we kind of fought against the city. We didn't understand that the city council was just going off of recommendations from the planning commission, who was going off recommendations from the planning boss. I don't know what that position is called, but in the end, we were so grateful. There was nothing to be done about that disruption in our neighborhood, because the cement had been poured, and we understood that, and we're not ogres. We just care about our city and we care about our neighborhood, and we're so gratified that a new zone was created, the city center zone, that protected, that limited the number of units that could be built, reduced it down to I'm actually not quite sure. I think it's R2. But I am against changing that zone. I believe in North Ogden. I believe in the values of North Ogden. I've benefited my whole life from living in the city, and I feel that there's a place for multi-dwelling houses, and but it's not right in the center of single-family homes. And I just would like to encourage you to not overturn something that was so fought with blood, sweat, and tears to create that city center zone. That's my hope. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kent Bell. I live at 2739 North, 450 East, and I'm a lifeline resident of North Ogden. And one of the reasons for the city council meetings is to get input on issues from the residents. And I'd like to address the same topic that Leanne Lippert did, number 3. All the families that live close to this residents that wants to build a multi-family unit are against this. That includes the Lipperts, the Parkinsons, the Shoops, and the Bells, for rezoning the residential city center RCC to multifamily residential R4. The reason for this is, kind of like Leanne said, it would we don't feel that it would fit in aesthetically to have a big multifamily building next to a single family home. And being totally honest with yourselves, if this was going up next to your home, you probably would consider being against that also. We would ask that the city council keep the same zoning and not change from RCC to R4. So thank you.
Thank you.
My name is John Shoup. I'm going to speak on the same subject that has been spoken about. My comments are a little bit generalized, and they are concerns though. And I feel like, from what I can see, they've been disregarded in many ways. And I've written notes down because I'm kind of a fumble tongue when it comes to trying to speak off the cuff. My comments are concerning higher density housing. I believe that putting many instances of higher density housing in a given area is counter to the ideas set forth by ready.gov in the 5 phases of emergency management. I've been constantly disappointed that these things apparently have not been taken into consideration, and you might correct me on that, but it appears not. One of the 5 phases is mitigation, which is the effort to reduce the impact of broad emergency on families. I believe that many of the families that are participating in the higher density housing are often young couples with young children. They do this out of necessity, as many of us have done. Many having more well-established single-family residents in a proper ratio enhances the probability of a better outcome. When we are all trying to help each other if there's an emergency, such as the power grid going on, earthquake, or whatever. So that's just my comment.
Thank you.
My name is Lindsay McGinn. I'm a resident of North Ogden. I'm also talking on the same thing as you're going to hear from a lot of us that are here. There's a general feeling from everybody that I've talked to of betrayal, of frustration, of disappointment that this is being brought up, as a lot of us didn't even know that this was an issue until yesterday. We were not told, we were all told that lived there, that this was going to be a community of single-family homes. I grew up here my whole life, moved away for a bit, came back, and the appeal to move back home was single-family homes because we liked the feeling of that. We wanted to raise our kids here. I have 2 young kids at home. I live on the corner of 1700 North. That's already a really busy street. Adding in a whole bunch of apartments, townhouses, multifamily dwellings would only make our street even busier and more dangerous for my kids and for those kids that are already around us. Because we already have too much traffic, too much speeding, and too many issues that already happen. My husband talked to the city planner about this morning. And he was told that one of the reasons this was being considered was for green space to be maintained by an HOA. I don't think, looking at the proposed plan, I think the green space that is there is negligible enough that it shouldn't be considered a need necessary to make an HOA for this. The main reason that I can see that Rainey would be bringing this up is they are having a hard time selling their single family homes because they are priced probably too high. And they don't want to take a cut in profit in order to do that. Another another mention from the city planner was there is possibly some state level government pressure to create more affordable housing in this area. And I understand that that is a frustration. We've been through this multiple times in moving over the last few years. However, making that many apartments and townhouses isn't necessarily going to solve the problem of unaffordable housing. It is just a way for them to make more money on a smaller parcel of land instead of handling the real issue, which is they probably need to make the pricing of their houses a little cheaper in order to become more affordable. The quality, in my opinion, from what I've seen of what they're building is probably a bit exaggerated to the price that they are charging for these homes. And so if the main issue that they are bringing is affordability, I don't think that's actually what's going on. I think that's being hidden behind some other, I can't think of the word, some other wants that they have primarily dealing with dollars and cents. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Steve Flinders, North Ogden City resident. I'm talking about I think the young lady that was just here before was talking about number 4. I'm here to address number 3, which is the property at 2679 North, 450 East. All due respect to the neighbors that are talking about this, about the development and are against it, they don't have a property line that shares, most of them don't, that shares with the 10-plex that they are so upset about that happened years ago. Also, that project had nothing to do with us. I know they're trying to protect that block, but the damage is already done in that block and in that zone. We're talking about single family homes, not rentals. We're talking about trying to develop that property. Currently, there's a couple of homes currently going on right now that are prefabbed double wide trailers. They're dropping in around that area. And my wife and I have a little bit of a problem of building a $1 to $2 million home on that spot in the middle of those prefabbed homes. I understand people's problem with wanting to keep the neighborhood the same, but the truth is, it is not the same. The 10-plex is still there, and that problem probably should have been addressed back when it happened. I know that there's some problems with the zoning, and I'm asking the council to take a look at where we sit on that corner, sharing a property line with that 10-plex. The driveway is right next to that property, and that's not going to go away. It's going to stay there. So all due respect to the neighbors, I understand their concerns, but I think this is a good thing for the property, to develop that property right across from the skate park and the elementary school. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to quickly say about that same thing. This is the property that my dad, when I grew up on his property. And I know that when this Templex went in, my parents were a little upset, more because they didn't know about it.
Your name, just for the record.
Sorry, Shauna Flinders, and I'm in North Carolina, but, anyway, we, came to you guys about this, probably it's going on 2 years ago. And of course, the interest rate has gone up quite a bit and stuff since then. We thought, well, maybe if we can't do this, it's literally, it's not a big 10-plex that we're asking for. This is 5 or 6 common wall homes that we're gonna sell as individual homes. They're nice places. And we had talked to you guys about it. In the meantime, we went and thought, well, if we can't do that, maybe we'll put a house or 2 houses on there. We're talking about $2 million, $1 million a piece for 2 homes. And the property line of that home will be a 10-plex. So on the other side of my property is a double wide trailer. So my property is surrounded by a 10-plex and a double wide trailer. And now, in the last few months, the reason we decided to come back on this is because now there's a double wide trailer across the street from my property. So there's Ellis's property, so I am surrounded on 3 sides by either an apartment building or a double wide trailer. And so to ask us to go in and force us to put $1 million homes on that property to please somebody about something that happened 25 years ago that they can't get over is kind of outrageous. You know, really our option at this point is to throw some double wide trailers down there and just finish up your trailer court. Because that's really where it's at right now. Just rent out some trash and just finish trashing up that corner. So I'm hoping that you can understand that it's outrageous to ask us to put single family homes right there. Thank you.
My name is Jim Reeves. I'm a resident of North Ogden as well. And I think there's quite a few people here who, I think it's number 6 is the issue that we're trying to deal with the Rainy Homes situation. And I agree with what's been said. We were led to believe that the area that is now being looked at to be developed was going to be single dwelling homes. And it looks like the proposal is that they want to do multi-dwelling homes, and I get it. I mean, as a city, you want to see as many rooftops as you can because rooftops means dollars that you can use for taxes and things. But the concerns that have been mentioned, and I think a few more people might come up, I don't know, we'll see, is that it's what you're bringing into. I mean, I can see multi-unit dwellings that are like on major streets or something, but when you're pocketing it back into an area that is, you know, surrounded by single dwelling homes, and then the egress, from what I can see of the map, it kind of goes back to, you know, the safety of the people. If there's that many people in that small of an area, do we have the infrastructure, the egress? I know that Monroe has to come out. But where does it end? And is it going to go through to 1700, or is it just going to dead end somewhere there? And then what kind of traffic gets there? I just saw on the news this morning that somewhere up down Monroe on that end, there are people up there doing, you know, donuts and stuff in the night and causing problems. Is this going to just move further north to our area? But as you get these bigger dwellings, then you have an impact of individuals. And I just wonder if there has been consideration for the schools and the growth in the schools. Do you have enough space in the schools? Yeah, there's more than just, oh, let's just slam a whole bunch of homes in here to just get some tax dollars. Or, you know, that we need a few more, you know, multi-dwelling and try to keep, you know, affordable homes. There's other issues at hand here. And, you know, I know that I speak for most of us here that we felt that we had been misled. That when we all moved recently into this area, we were given an understanding that this would be single dwelling homes. And so I just ask that as a council, you consider all of the aspects. What's gonna happen on Monroe? What's it gonna bring to that area? Do we have the infrastructure? Do we have, you know, is there enough school? Because this was, I had another issue in Pleasant View where this same thing kind of happened. And we had almost every single teacher from a school come and say, we just don't have the space, and now you're gonna add, you know, 100, I think it's 102, 104 dwellings. What are you gonna do to our school? So I just ask that you just keep all of those things in mind and consider that as you make those decisions.
Hello, my name is Chris Acosta. I'm a North Ogden resident. I live on 1633 North 500 East in the Rainy Homes development, the first phase. Item 6 that was brought up just recently from the previous gentleman. He brings many good points about safety and egress. The proposed map they have here doesn't have any direct access to a major thoroughfare. 1700 does not connect to it, and neither does Washington. These plans that build that would be our dreams of a future, not represented directly into the plan that's being presented. Additionally, the US Census of 2020 says that Utah has 2.5 vehicles per household here in Utah. That brings 255 vehicles that need to get in and out of that one block area any given morning for school, work, and otherwise. Utah has a housing shortage that needs to be responded to, but this pocket of a neighborhood within private dwellings, between ranch land, between single family homes is not the place to do it. This block here, I would say could be done in a different way. Townhomes, shared wall, how you feel. I might be ostracized for saying this. I think those are a great plan, but multifamily is not the way to do it. That brings in too much population to a single block area. So I hope that the council notices that this is a safety issue. There is a school crossing directly north of that plat land that already doesn't have sidewalks, unsafe to be a part of. There would be additional traffic in and out where kids are walking to school, playing during the summer and such. It feels like an unsafe scenario for any neighborhood. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Eileen Tippett. I live in North Ogden. I live on 600 East, just south of 1700 North. I am so concerned about traffic. There needs, if this land is going to be developed, there needs to be a road to 1700 North. Better than coming down to 600 East and going out. If cars want to go north and they go down to Washington, they're gonna have to deal with that stoplight that is on 1700. And it's going to mean then that they're coming across 600 East to be able to get to 1700 so they can go down and go south. And I'm very concerned about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Debbie Sanchez, and I'm also a North Ogden resident. I live on 1678 North 600 East. And I don't know, is this the right time to address item 6, or will there be time to do it when item 6 comes up? Now is the time, okay. So, you know, when we, bought that lot, we actually had to pay a premium for that lot. Because we were sold on what was going to be built behind us, and it was going to be other homes. None of us are arguing that, you know, that other homes were going to be built behind our subdivision. But there was never any indication that there would be multifamily dwelling units going in there. And so we paid that premium for that lot. That was a big reason for it. You know, I know there's pressure from the state that we have to build affordable housing, but that pressure has been there for quite a few years. That when the state addressed that. And so Rainy Homes knew that before they even started this subdivision, or the second phases of it. So, you know, to say now that he's getting pressure, is not accurate if that's the case. But I'm just saying that, that law's been in place for quite a few years. And so I don't think that that should apply here. The traffic is a big issue. I mean, I don't know how you can justify putting a multifamily dwelling in that area without having, you know, someplace for that traffic to go other than into our subdivision, and have that many vehicles going in and out of our subdivision. It's just not very well planned from what we can see. And again, that wasn't what we were sold on. We were sold on a subdivision built with homes and not with multifamily dwellings. And then there is all of the costs involved with it. You've got a lot more rooftops there. You've got a bigger population. Now you have to, you know, do you look at what kind of, you know, what will the impact be to public safety? What will the impact be to the schools? Maybe you will get more taxes, but those taxes are going to be offset by all of the issues that come with it. So I would just ask you please to, you know, reconsider this or think about, you know, all the issues that could impact the city. I'm a finance director, so I do know, I have an idea of what that will be, and I just do not think that this will be a good idea. So, thank you.
All right, is someone else? Someone else's?
Yeah, probably most everybody here is on the same topic. I am Jill Fleming. I live on 600 East, so I am a North Ogden resident. We have been on that road for about 1.5 years. We did pay a premium to have that lot. At the time when we were talking with Rainy Homes, everything was put on hold. As they said, they had to reassess everything. So we didn't know if we were gonna get our lot or not. We'd have to put some money down, and they came back and said that the city is asking for more, because they're charging more for them to put the houses there, so they had to charge us more for it also. So we paid the extra to make sure we had that house. And just like this morning, my husband looked out the front window and saw a deer just trotting down the road, down 600. We're not gonna see that if we have those 200 and whatever cars coming up and down 600. I know there's gonna be single family homes. We were okay with that. That was one thing. But I also grew up here. So I know plenty about North Ogden. I grew up on 1750 actually. And for one thing, 1700 has not changed in all those years since I grew up there. There's been no extra sidewalks built. It hasn't been widened or changed or anything. It's exactly the same as it was 40 something years ago. So in order to, if you're gonna put in that many more cars coming up and down 600 to get up to 1700, I drive out of there every morning to head south off of that road. It is a mess. Just a couple weeks ago, there was an accident right there. 3 cars involved. Somebody coming from another direction and somebody turning south and somebody coming from another direction on that road. So that is gonna be so much worse. Also, when they were talking about the schools, it made me think of I know North Ogden doesn't have a ton of cops in the area and multi apartments. I know they bring in, well, people say they bring in more issues and we could have a lot of response over that area. In a similar situation down Second Street, my family has a farm that's been there forever. And when they built across the street down Second Street, they put that big median and the trees in the middle of it, told them that everything will be okay and it'll slow the traffic down and everything, and the speed limit's 35, so it'll be fine. It's not. So whatever we say, it's not gonna be as shiny as making it. But I think the amount of traffic coming up and down that street is very concerning to me. Leaving every morning, there's the bus out there coming on 1700, and there's a lot of traffic on 1700 as it is. And then you have all of those people coming up 600 to get on the 1700. It's gonna be terrible traffic. So that's just one of my concerns. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Stanley K. Stallings. I live on 550 East in the not in the senior moment, Woodfield Farms. I don't know, I didn't buy my house outright from Rainey, but I bought it from someone else, and it's had a few problems. I'm a former builder, and so I'm a little bit familiar with what's going on here. And it's really nice to make a lot of money. I think so, but our western neighbors have really paid a price for what Rainey did to them. The ground on the Woodfield Farm side is so high, all that water drains into their yard. This is a problem and it's never been addressed and it's never been fixed. Well, it's never been addressed as far as I know. What do I know? Mike, can I ask a question? When is Monroe going to be put through? What's the plan for Monroe?
I don't think we have a time frame on that. Depends on the development that comes through the area, so.
Yeah, that's the question. I'm sorry, but that's putting an awful lot of traffic through Woodfield Farms. An awful lot of traffic. Now, I don't oppose townhomes. Townhomes is a good buffer between standard residential and commercial. But to put this much traffic coming through the neighborhood would be a burden on that neighborhood. I mean, there was barricades up on the western neighbors that they put barricades up to keep people from going through their neighborhood because there was a lot of construction traffic going through. And we have a lot of kids in our neighborhoods, and which I'm glad to see. There's a lot of old people like me, but there's a lot of young families there, and they have a tendency of playing in the streets, and I'd hate to see any of them get hurt. I think Rainey Homes should either change their designs. You should keep the zoning that you originally committed, and they should wait on multi housing until Monroe gets put in. That would relieve the traffic through the small community, because I can only see two ways out of this. And most of the plans that I've ever been involved with, we've had 3 or 4 ways of getting out. And that would also help with services that would need to come in, fire departments, police, and so on. So my vote would be that you keep the planning, or they change their designs, or wait until Monroe goes through so that it can be utilized in a better light. Thank you very much for your time.
I'm Chad Parkinson. My address is 2711 North 450 East. I'm addressing item number 3. We live just to the north of the property. I would just like to oppose the changing of the zones. If you kind of go up through the area there, above 2650 North, all those houses are single family houses. There's outside of that 10-plex that was put in. And I don't think we should really base things off that 10-plex where it was kind of snuck in. I also want to point out that the double wide trailers that were spoken of earlier tonight are not double wide trailers. They're manufactured homes. They actually look pretty nice. We don't have a problem with them over there. I think what this really comes down to is it's all about money. I understand they want to make as much money as they want or as they can, but when they sell these homes and leave, they don't care about what happens to our community when they leave. So I just encourage you to keep the zoning the same. Thanks.
I'm Austin Siebold. I'm a North Ogden resident, and the concern that I have is on agenda item 6. But I had a question, if you don't mind me asking first, if that's okay. So I noticed that it mentions here about open space, preservation of open space. Can you elaborate on that? What does that preservation look like? That
Mr. Hester, he can correct me if I'm wrong, but he'll be making a presentation on that later, so that should answer your question.
Can I speak later, or am I just limited right
There'll
now?
be public comments at the end of the meeting.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm Gator Meter, North Ogden resident, in the Rainy Homes area. I just wanted to, I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but can we just have a raise of hands of those who are here for item 6? Because I want you to see how many people in this room are opposed to that change. Rainy Homes has kind of done a number on a lot of us for a lot of things, and I, for one, would not like to see that, to see them go back on their word again. I live on 550 and I live next to a 2-story home, which was not in the original plan either. You know, we paid a premium for our lot too. And so it's a little frustrating when they just keep getting away with more and more things. If it's okay if we can have a raise of hands of who's all here for item 6.
Yeah, but I think we could probably tell because we've had about 50 council meetings that have been here, and the regulars are here, but we haven't seen a lot of them before, so I figured it had something to do with that. So thank you.
My name is Amy DeMonja. I live on 1525 North, 600 East. And we actually moved from the townhomes that are just down the road. And we didn't purchase from Rainy. We purchased from someone who had already lived there. But we did try to purchase from Rainy. And we were actually told, this was just in the spring, that we asked if we could purchase in phase 4. And they said that was still in the plans, but that they weren't sure when they would be starting that. So just another example that they deceived a lot of people, right? So we purchased, and we're one of those schmucks that have paid a really high price for this home that we're living in because of the interest rates, right? So we've sacrificed a lot to live in this home because we feel like it's our dream home, it's our dream neighborhood. Like, I have 2 little girls who love to play on the street with about, 30 other kids that hang out on that street on any given day that love to run up and down and play. Not that we teach our kids to play in the road, but they are children, and there's a lot of them. And it's one of those areas that we moved to because we want our kids to be able to have friends and be able to play outside and enjoy that space. And I just feel like that's just getting ripped from us, and at such a high cost. And that's for a lot of us here. And so it's hard to not feel totally just, I don't know, violated, yeah, thanks guys. You know, it's hard to not feel that way because we all did make these plans with our families in mind and with our dreams in mind to live in a place that we felt like we could feel safe and our kids could feel safe, and not that, you know, the people coming in are gonna be bad people. It's just that the plans are not, it's not the right plan. And we should all still feel like we're able to have the neighborhood and the homes that we all dreamed that we would, and that we've all paid a lot to have for us. So anyway, sorry, I'm getting jealous. But so I really, really hope you guys consider, it's not just my dreams and my kids' dreams and our lives, but it's all the people living in that neighborhood. It's not going to be safe. I will not be able to let my kids just go play out in the front yard with the fear of all those cars coming through. It's already a little bit scary. So please keep our children in your minds, because there's a lot of them there and they're going to continue to be growing up there, and their safety is the most important part of all of this. So thank you.
Hello, my name is Caleb Kapp. I'm a resident of North Ogden. I live in the Woodfield Farm subdivision. I'm against this issue. We'll start with 1700. The street's horrible. Nothing's been done to it. Just flooded this last year. And that road was damaged all summer long. There's no connecting sidewalk. You watch kids leaving school jump side to side to side for the first hour after that out of school, trying to get home, but they don't have a sidewalk to go in. And then like you said earlier, there's a lot of kids in the area. They like to play, my kids especially. You know, there's a little wetlands area down at the south end that the kids like to go play in. Deers were mentioned earlier. That's all gonna go away. And then Rainy Homes is, you know, they want to rain on you golden showers, but they lie. Like, I can look at my build sheet, and as I go through my house and look behind what's underneath my carpet that I paid a premium for, I was lied to. It was the bare minimum carpet that was put in the pad, but outside, out of mind. They'll continue to do that with these townhomes or the multifamily homes that they want to put in. You know, and they're looking at it like, okay, they sold phase one at 350K for a 4,200 square foot house. Well, now we can shove all these extra houses in, benefit from the market, and sell cut rate homes at 500,000, and just continue to take advantage of people that shouldn't be taken advantage of. So yeah, this whole thing, the safety, and there's a lot of what was mentioned earlier, water in the area. Rainy will do nothing about it. We had water running through my backyard. I had a river all summer long, and Rainy says, oh, we only deal with the property or the house, not the land. So I had to have my own pocket, with the help of the neighbors, put a land drain in, because Rainy wouldn't do anything about it, or my lot would be a swamp, all summer long. Because, oh, it's your neighbor's problem. Figure that out. If you go where they want to put all these houses in, there's already stagnant water there. It's gonna look like as they continue, because Rainy doesn't care. They openly just, we don't care. It's not our problem. So you're passing the buck to these unsuspecting families. So what are we gonna just continue to let them get away with being slimy? I disagree. So.
Okay, anyone else? Let me just say a few things, and once again, the council will discuss this. I don't know where they stand on this. But I do want to give a little background. First of all, those of you who have participated in the city before know that building houses and collecting property tax does not cover the public safety that's needed for the population. So there's no motivation that I've ever seen from this council to build houses to get property taxes. Second of all, and I think Ms. Sanchez brought this up, I had a actual discussion with the president of the Utah Senate. And there is a strong movement to take zoning away from local city councils. Because there is a feeling that there's a house shortage here, and so this council has to kind of balance the mix of housing in our community. But I want you to know that it's been talked about for a number of years, but there is significant action taking place in your legislature to take zoning away because they want more high density housing. And I think the councilman, I think I sent this to Councilman Swanson, there was a recent audit by the state auditor, was it by the state auditor? Who supported their position of basically zoning at the state level. We keep very close information on the number of high density housing we have in the city to make sure that we're living up to our commitment to the state on affordable housing, whatever that is today. I'm not sure I found out what that is. But I also want you to know that there was a recent amendment, I think somebody mentioned that in an email to me today, about our general plan. So the general plan was put together by, recommended by citizens of this community on what zoning would look like and what the city should look like long-term. I think that surely has to be considered too, as the council discusses that this evening. You've heard the term probably NIMBY. Anybody heard that? People want high density housing, but not in my backyard. And I think, you know, I understand your concerns on it. I'm not minimizing those by any means, but I want you to know what the council faces as they discuss this issue and trying to keep things in balance. I was appreciative of somebody, I think 2 people mentioned deer. They like deer in the street. Because we've been bombarded about too many deer in the street. People want to kill them. So you can see there's issues on both sides. But when we get to that issue, I think tonight is not a decision. It's just basically, I think, the inquiry to see if there's any interest in the council considering what's being proposed. So there won't be a decision by any means tonight. I think it was just an inquiry to determine interest. So with that, I think we'll move on to item number 3. I'm sorry, but we closed public comments. So
I can't say anything about the floodplain.
At the end of the meeting, you're more than happy to make comments. So we'll move on to item number 3 now. This will be led by Scott Hess, who's our Community and Economic Development Director. This is regarding for a request to rezone property at 2679 North and 450 East.
There's any problems? I'm just gonna. I'm just
Wow,
kidding.
what a team.
Well, thank you, Mayor and Council, and I'm gonna use this opportunity because we have so many residents here to say that there's an opening on our planning commission. And you can apply on northogdencity.com under jobs with North Ogden. So I would recommend anyone in the room, all of you interested citizens who want to come and help make these decisions, these difficult decisions, to apply for planning commission, because we need people who will come to the meetings. Not.
But some.
But some, small stipends per meeting. So check the application out and please really do apply. Okay, so this is an application that started back in August of 2021 is when it reached the city council meeting that, you know, prior to that, it had been at planning commission. Discussions with the property owner on this had begun far before that, actually before I was even here, when Rob Scott was the previous planning director. And the item was tabled in August 2021 based on action on the general plan future land use map, which ultimately took place the following spring. So the applicant in the meantime had been looking at several different configurations for the property, including, you know, splitting it into 2 lots and selling it as single family or building 1 single family. Talking about, you know, the state changing local zoning codes. One thing they did 2 sessions ago was make internal accessory dwelling units by right in every zone. So there's the potential for every home to essentially be a duplex in some ways. So they looked at that, but, building costs are high, interest rates are high, and the applicant kind of held on that until recently when they wanted to bring this application back forward. So I won't belabor the entire application. We did mail a courtesy notice to those residents who had received notice back at the planning commission time during the formal public hearing. Felt like there had been enough time between planning commission's action and city council tabling it, that was a proper thing to do. And then also for all of the residents in the room, when you do have the proper application from a developer for the rezone, the city will mail to property owners within 300 feet of the boundary line of that rezone a direct notice letting them know when their formal public hearing is. So this isn't the only time you'll get to speak. If there's a formal application from Rainy Homes, there will be notice that's sent out and you'll have an opportunity to come and voice your concerns or opinions at that point as well. So on this particular application, rezone request is from residential city center to residential R4. In the general plan designation, this is in the downtown mixed use area. The areas don't represent one zoning district necessarily. In fact, the downtown mixed use area covers Lee's, Smith's, the 2 apartment complexes across the street, all of Patriot Point, the swimming pool, charter schools, civic center. It's a really broad zone. So to say any one zoning district in the city doesn't fit into the downtown mixed use area is difficult for staff to say because we have nearly every zoning district in the city represented in it due to the different areas where 10,000 square foot quarter acre lots and half acre lots and R2 and apartments and R4, R3, all of these different zoning districts collide and combine in the downtown mixed use area. So in the legislative decision-making, the council does have broad latitude in these decisions for what makes sense for the community. At the planning commission public hearing, there was significant opposition. A lot of it, as you've heard tonight, was based on those previous decisions about that 10-plex. And the planning commission unanimously recommended denial of the application forward to the city council. The staff report does say that I think that the council can find that residential R4 in the right areas of the downtown mixed use zone or downtown mixed use area general plan can be supported. So it really is in the hands of the council for what is appropriate in this area. From a strictly, city planning perspective, from, what we look at in proximity to areas, this is walkable to the elementary school, the junior high, the library, 2 grocery stores, all of our civic center. It's one of those areas that it makes me question as staff, if not here, where is the best place to put multifamily? Because kind of shoving it off in one far corner of your city, which not that we're doing that, but we've really focused on multifamily in the southwest area of the city, causes more driving trips. You're further away from those services. This is an area where you might actually be able to have 2 people that live there in a single car because you're able to access so many city services from your doorstep. With that, I'll answer any questions. We do have the applicant here to represent the application, and I'm happy to stand up here and be here for questions.
Council, do you have any questions for Scott? Blake, are you still online with us, Councilmember Severing?
Yes, I'm online, Mayor, but I have no questions for Scott.
Council? Councilmember Swanson.
You mentioned the downtown mixed use zone. How is that different from the residential city center?
Yeah, so
are they one and the same?
No, if you can pull up the. Thanks, John. And then will you get the zoning map like back to back with it? So think of the general plan as like 30,000 foot level, and then zoning is 10,000 foot level, and then neighborhood and subdivision decisions at literally street level. So this is your general plan for future land uses in the city. The yellow being, if you scroll up just a touch, John, to the sort of a legend. So the yellow is indicated as residential low density, which we'll talk about with the Rainy Homes development. The kind of mauve pinky color is this downtown mixed use. There's another mixed use area that we have that's the Southtown mixed use. oriented around the cannery, Kurt's Drive-In. And then we have like formal commercial areas. We've got some parks indicated on here, some civic uses indicated on here. And then the residential hillside, which is zoned separately for those hillside protection areas. So you can scroll down, John. So the downtown mixed use area by future looking general plan runs from approximately 500 east north up to 2850, follows follows Alberta, swings down around, picks up all of Patriot Point. This is the swimming pool and the charter school here. Patriot Point is a future, some is built, some isn't, but it's townhomes, apartments, mixed use multifamily. Here's our apartment complexes that we have, all of Smith's, all of the 5,000 square foot lots that are just right over here. That was John Hansen's development. And then swings back up, and the green space here being North Ogden Park and the school. This differs from the zoning map. In the zoning map being the actual underlying land uses. Oh, this is really light and hard to see. But the residential city center zone starts from Washington Boulevard, picks up the 2750 and 2850 block, comes down just south of 2600, and then goes all the way over to about 750 east. So that's the residential city center zone, of which this parcel is like right here on the western edge of it. And then it's surrounded by a lot of different zoning districts. This is residential 1-8, that's 8,000 square foot zoning. Across Washington is RE20, that's half acre, sort of agricultural protection zoning. You've got the whole commercial downtown core. This is all R4 multifamily, and Patriot Point is MPC. It's a master planned community zone for Patriot Point. So the downtown mixed use area is like this large. And then the actual underlying zoning designations are what happens within that. So when looking at general planning, you have to think of what are the potential zones that the city has, or what are the future zoning designations or land uses that you would be able to or willing to consider under that overall 30,000 foot kind of mixed area.
What's the maximum density that is permitted in the RCC?
RCC is a average as well. Let me not make it up. It requires 80 feet of frontage. I know that. So residential city center zone requires 8,000 square feet. That's about 5 units to the acre.
So essentially an R18.
Basically.
Let's see if Councilmember Swanson. Did Councilmember Swanson?
Yes.
Councilmember Delpez.
When I was looking at the general plan that was updated in 2022, it shows this area as a transitionary zone. You know, can you explain that so everyone can understand from your perspective what a transition to what a transitory zone is like?
Yeah, so this was something talked about by the general plan committee. The immediate area right here, you have, this is 2600 north, 450, this is the skate park. So you have the 10-plex, and just below the 10-plex, you've got those other apartments. And then north, as you come up to about 2750, 2800, there's a whole row of duplexes. And then you've got another whole row of duplexes out here on Washington Boulevard north of 2850. So the general plan steering committee looked at this area and heard from several residents who live or own property in this area who said, I'd like to do duplexes. I'd like to do 2-family dwellings. And it seems like that would be supported based on the fact that there are several existing duplex projects in this area. The RCC zone originally had 2-family dwellings in it as a permitted use, but those were pulled out 6 or 7 years ago or more. So they made a recommendation for this 1A area to be a spot where maybe the council considers putting 2-family dwellings back in. There was an application that was made by an applicant requesting that, and it was denied. So the kind of transitionary area is on paper, but hasn't really panned out as far as policy decisions go and rezones go.
And just to be sure, this property in question is not in that transitory zone according to the general plan.
No, that's right. It's right here, right at the bottom of the E.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Scott, do you have anything else? This is an issue that will obviously take a motion and a roll call vote. This evening, we'll be voting in this order. Councilmember Severing, Councilmember Swanson, Councilmember Barker, and Councilmember Dowpass. So before us tonight is a request dealing with ordinance 2023-24. This would be a motion to approve that ordinance to rezone the property that's been identified at 2679 North 450 East in the RCC zone, as Scott explained, to residential multifamily R4. Do we have such a motion? Councilmember Dowpass?
It's not that motion, but it is a motion.
Okay.
I move that we table this item until a later date, until Planning Commission has had another opportunity to weigh in on it. And the reason that I want to say that is when the Planning Commission weighed in on this back in 2021, we still didn't have the general plan update completed. And so just to be sure, they were making a decision based off of something that was in process, and they were probably making their best effort to make a good decision. But I want to make sure that they make a decision based off of the general plan update that was put in 2022.
Okay, that is a motion. May I just, I don't think I need to remind her, but this group, but they're a recommending group. The actual decision does lie with this group. So no matter what the recommendation is, the legislative action does take place here. But we do have a motion by Councilmember Dowpass to postpone this, right? Councilmember Dowpass is at the table. We postpone this to a later date. Is there a second to his motion?
Second.
Have a second from Councilmember Barker. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Councilmember Severing?
I think he's still here. You're muted, Councilmember Severing, if you're trying to talk.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. What is your vote?
Nay.
All right, we have a tie. Mayor will break the tie. I will vote against the motion. The reason is, just in case you know, not that I object Councilmember Dowpass, but I think the Flinders have been waiting for an answer on this for several years, and ultimate decision has to be made here. So,
Mayor, may I comment?
I think Councilman Severing has something.
okay, Councilmember Severing, did you have something?
My decision to vote against that is I personally feel, as you noted, that if this were to go back to the Planning Commission, under the circumstances that we understand what the general plan is suggesting, that they would probably just recommend, I mean, I could be wrong, but I think under the circumstances with the general plan now in place, they would probably recommend it, and it would just come back to us again. My personal feeling is that we just take the opportunity right now to vote on this.
Okay. We have a motion then, as previously stated, to rezone this property from RCC to R-4. Do we have a motion?
Well, my motion then, Mayor, is to approve the rezone of this particular request.
Okay, we have a motion on the table to rezone this property to R-4. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second. Okay, you can have it.
Nope.
Nope.
You got it?
Nope.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, with that, we'll take a roll call vote. This is ordinance number 2023-24. Councilmember Severing,
Yes,
or against the motion?
I'm for the motion, yes.
Councilmember Swanson.
Yes.
Councilmember Barker.
Yes.
Councilmember Dowpaz.
No.
Okay, motion passes to rezone the property to R-4. Okay. Move on now to item number 4 on our agenda this evening.
Can you turn the lights on, please?
Maybe. Okay, this is dealing with ordinance number 2023-21. This is regarding annexing 1.123 acres located at 730 East, 1750 North in North Ogden. Representative is Ryan Santoro.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Today, I am presenting an annexation for your consideration. Mr. Mackley and his wife are the owners of the property located at 730 East, 1750 North, containing 0.123 acres. They submitted a petition for annexation on October 16th, 2023. The annexation process began with Weber County Surveyor, who approved it on September 26th, 2023. This annexation petition was certified by myself, the North Ogden City Recorder, on November 1st, 2023, and the public hearing was noticed on December 5th. The annexation meets all of the requirements from the Recorder's Office to be annexed and is before the City Council as an ordinance for your consideration in annexing this property into the city.
So, do you have any questions before I request the public hearing? Do you have any questions? Okay, at this point in time, then I would open the public hearing to receive comments on this petition of annexation. If there's anyone here that would like to speak to the issue, please step up to the podium. Anyone online, John?
No raised hands.
Okay, then I would look for a motion to close public hearing. Thank you, Councilmember Swanson. We have a second. Second, Councilmember Barker. All in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Okay, then with that, I would look for a motion to consider ordinance 2023-21, which would annex the said property into the city of North Ogden, which has been stated as located at 730 East, 1750 North in North Ogden, Utah. Once again, this is ordinance 2023-21.
Mayor?
We have a motion. Councilmember Barker.
Make a motion, we approve ordinance 2023-21, annexing the property located at 730 East, 1750 North in North Ogden.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Barker. Do we have a second to that motion?
Second?
Thank you, Councilmember Dowpaz. Any further discussion? This being an ordinance, I'll seek a roll call vote. Councilmember Severing.
Yes.
Councilmember Swanson.
Yes.
Councilmember Barker.
Yes.
Councilmember Dowpaz.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Now move on to a discussion or an action to consider ordinance 2023-22. And this is regarding the final budget for the redevelopment agency fiscal year 2023. Now, John, this is an RDA action, right?
Right.
So this would be an ordinance, whether it is 2023-24, this would be listed under the RDA, wouldn't it?
So it deals with the numbering, and we've, it's not required that they be numbered separately, so we've decided to just number them consecutively with the other ordinances.
My question is this an actual city ordinance since it's an action? Because I'm going to dismiss the city council meeting here in just a moment and convene the RDA meeting.
So it is an ordinance of the RDA. Yeah, so an ordinance of the North Ogden Redevelopment Agency amending the budget.
And what number is that? Because it's not the same as the city, correct?
So for numbering purposes, we are following the same order to avoid any confusion, because there's been times when they've been saved over the top of each other in the past, and we've had to unwind that.
Okay, so this would be RDA ordinance 2023-21, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, 2022, thank you, Councilmember Parker. So at this point in time, I would recess the city council meeting and convene the RDA meeting. So I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn the city council meeting and convene the RDA. Thank you, Councilmember Swanson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Barker. Any further discussion? All in favor of adjourning the council meeting and convening the RDA meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. All right. Mr. Call? You want to, or you want Jamie to take this one?
Jamie is excited to do this one.
Oh, she's lost in the crowd. There she is. Okay.
All right, thank you, board members. We've had several discussions on these RDA projects and opportunities. So before the board tonight is an opportunity to amend the 2023-24 budget. And it comes out of last week's work session. We're looking at budgeting approximately 3.6 million in the RDA fund. I do want to clarify that we do have the first 175,000 that is already allocated to the Aquatic Center for their budget year. And then we also have a little bit of admin costs for the state reporting requirements for the RDA. So that leaves the remaining 1.7 million for their maintenance and some rehabilitation of the Aquatic Center. 210,000 for the Bicentennial Park, re-landscaping and updating plaques there. 300,000 allocated for the 300 East commercial right-of-way improvement. And around 1.2 million for the RDA general project grants. I know that there'll be more coming on that for the application process. Hopefully by the end of the year, or yeah, by the first of the year. That should be based on, those grants will be based on deadline. Other than that, that's all I have.
Any further questions of Jamie? Councilmember Dalpaz?
On the 175,000 that's programmed at the bottom, is that covering, is that essentially what we've done in the past for the operating costs? Is that 3 years scheduled? Is that the total amount?
So typically it's usually around 175, 180 that we've budgeted. But if it's not necessary, we haven't transferred the full amount. So for the end of year 2023, it was around 84,000. The year prior to that, it was like 33,000. And so there could be leftover monies. Again, we would have to come back and decide what to do with that.
Okay, so this could be a good guess of what's needed for the next 3 years to be burned down for those costs. Okay, thank you.
Jamie, I just have a question though. It's been as high as 175,000. So to Councilmember Dalpaz's question, that's really not 3 years worth, right?
So it's not, but based on the last 3 years, it could be. It was in 2020, I think, was the last time we sent over the funds, but it was also, we were also paying off.
But it could be. Now, as you know, we've challenged the Aquatic Center to start breaking even. But to Councilmember Dalpaz's point, this is money that could be spent over 3 years. So it literally could be 150,000, 175,000, but under the budgeting process here, we have, what, 3 years to spend the money, John?
That's what we're suggesting to the auditor, yes.
We're targeting, yeah.
But once again, the challenge has been to break that even, because if not, then the money starts coming out of the general fund, which is citizen taxpayer money. I just want to refresh the citizens who are here who may be interested in this. This is money that other taxing agencies have given up to redevelop our city. So this comes from basically other entities and businesses. This isn't your general property tax that we're talking about here. That's why we adjourned the city council meeting and convened the RDA meeting. So just for your information. Any questions for Jamie based upon this? All right, then I would, at this point in time, then open a public hearing to receive comments on the final budget for the redevelopment agency for fiscal year 2023 and 2024. So the public hearing is now open if the council so will make that motion.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're now in public hearing. If anybody would like to comment on the budget that was just presented. Anyone online, John, would like to comment?
Nope.
Okay, council, I've now looked for, Mr. Burns.
Oh, that was close. That was close. That was close. Kevin Burns, North Ogden. Last week, we attended the work session, had an opportunity to just comment on what a good job I think you've done with this particular piece of the budget. It's been bounced around a lot. I think there's some cool things here. But since there was nobody here last week to hear you guys receive a little kudos, there's a crowd tonight, so I'll give you a pat, give you a little kudos with some witnesses. Okay, so well done.
Thank you. I know there's some refinement that needs to be done on the grant portion of this, but we'll sure address that later. Thank you, Mr. Burns. All right, council, I look for a motion to then close the public hearing.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Swanson. Do you have a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Dowpaz. Discussion. All in favor of then closing the public hearing of the RDA, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, at this point in time, once again, this is regarding ordinance 2023-22. This would be an action to consider the final budget as presented by Jamie for the redevelopment agency for fiscal year 2023 and 2024. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Dowpaz.
I move that we approve ordinance 2023-2022, which is the final budget for the RDA.
So that was RDA ordinance.
Oh,
2023.
yeah, RDA ordinance 2023-22.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve the RDA budget in its final form, fiscal year 23-24. Do we have a second?
I have second that.
Councilmember Barker.
Seven can have it.
Okay, we have an argument. We'll go with Councilmember Severing on the second. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll have a roll call vote. Councilmember Severing.
Yes.
Councilmember Swanson.
Yes.
Councilmember Barker.
Yes.
Councilmember Dowpaz.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Motion passes unanimously. Councilmember Swanson.
I just wanted to give a shout out on that RDA to Jamie and to John and to Scott, because council was, we were really wrestling with what to do with that $1.2 million and how to allocate that. And is it Southtown? Is it not Southtown? We were kind of getting mired in the weeds, and the three of them came up with the idea for the grant program, which was just kind of an aha moment for me. And I'm grateful that for the effort that they put in. I want to recognize them publicly for being the solution finders in that particular part of the RDA budget.
Okay, thank you very much. So RDA members, I'd be looking for a motion then to adjourn the RDA and reconvene the city council meeting.
So moved.
Have another argument. We'll go with Councilmember Dowpaz. Second by Councilmember Swanson. Any further discussion on the motion to adjourn the RDA meeting? Any RDA members, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So at this point in time then, I would reconvene our city council meeting. And we'll move on then to item number 6. This is a discussion on the Rainy Homes development, Wayman Place concept, which I think we've heard tonight is located at approximately 600 east and between 600 and 700 east on 1700 north. And Scott Hess will be presenting this, and once again, there's no action required tonight. This is a discussion. I think the applicant is interested in kind of getting a feel where the council stands on this. And I think it's wise. We have 2 new council members coming on in January, and this will give them the opportunity to opine on this project. So, Scott?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council. So we have, the applicants requested a concept meeting with the council, looked for it before the end of the year as they're trying to put their plans together for springtime. So typically, I think this would be a work session item. We've allocated with City Recorder and John some time for discussion, but really it's up to you how much you want to hear from me or the applicant. And then, you know, the public has generously come out and joined us for the meeting. So I'm happy that they did. There's a couple of errors I'd like to point out in the staff report really quickly. One is that the current zoning is indicated as R18 and the current zoning is actually RE20. So the current zoning of Woodfield Farms is R18. In speaking to the applicant, there's really not a lot of desire to build half-acre lots, and that, you know, they're really cost prohibitive at this point with cost of land and cost of services, and the fact that this butts up against Monroe on the east side. So there's that's more of, in this concept staff report, what the assumed underlying zoning would be under just a standard single family zone in this area. So that's one thing just to consider in here. And then we kind of went through what the mix of housing would look like. So there's gross density and net density. So the gross density at an R18 of 8,000 square feet for 13.5 acres nets you about 74 single family homes. The proposal as is proposed is 102. You would lose some of those single family homes by going to the roadways or adding roadways in there and connecting the streets together. So that's when you get net versus gross, but that's what they would be able to build up to under an R18 essentially. And the 102 looks at, there's about 3.5 acres total of open space, and the applicant can talk about this, but the project would be a homeowners association. So all of those open spaces, that would be this piece here, and then this is kind of like a central green right here. These homes all front on the street, so this is all front doors of single family homes that front this street with an alley loaded garage. So these are all rear loaded garages. These ones here are all single family homes that are on shared driveways. So this is kind of like a, it's sort of I guess it's not really a duplex, it's 2 individual, they're not shared wall construction, 2 single family homes. But they would be probably, it'd be sort of like a townhome or a condominium plat, the way you would actually subdivide the land, depending on how much these folks own. And that's something maybe to ask the applicant, because this isn't green space, this is kind of all private space, it seems. And then the townhomes themselves, again, these would all be front doors that would front onto future Monroe. This is an 80-foot right of way that long-term could potentially be a 5-lane, you know, sized roadway that's nearly Washington Boulevard sized. Monroe runs all the way down into Ogden. And the applicant owns this half of Monroe here that does touch the existing Monroe on the south side. We've spoken to the applicant. This is too many doors to have on one entry and exit. You technically have 2. You can go out 600 or you can go out for 650 and 600, or is it 600 and 550? But this road down here as well, 1500 North, doesn't yet connect on the other side. That's Cooperstown apartment project that's been approved and entitled. And we're working with Ogden City on what happens there. So their option would be maybe they work with that project to get Washington Boulevard and that road out, or they connect to Monroe down on this southern section here. But there would likely be a secondary access that would be required based on the number of rooftops that are in the area. And we do have Rock with Rainy Homes here to discuss the project, and really just kind of looking for some guidance before putting together the engineering plans and asking for rezone and running through the whole process.
So, Scott, maybe you could explain to the council why this hasn't gone to the planning commission first. Obviously, this is the decision-making body here, but it seems like to me, if the council basically says yay, it kind of disregards the plan. I mean, the decision's already almost been made.
Yeah,
So, could you explain why it hasn't gone to the planning commission first?
Yeah, we've gone back and forth on that. Every project takes a little bit different entitlement track, and some of them, especially if they're gonna come in that's something a little bit different than the traditional project, it's good to just hear if there's any support and or feedback from the council. So, you know, applicants pay their fees and those fees help keep the lights on at the city hall, but it's several $1,000s just to get your foot in the door at planning commission. So I think that it's wise of them to use this as an opportunity to come and ask the legislators, the people who actually make the decision, what's your feedback before they go down the road of engineering and getting a project to the point where it actually can make it onto a planning commission.
And frankly, it's a little bit awkward tonight because you'll have two council members who may have a totally different opinion than council members speaking this evening. I'm just curious, wonder if the council's feedback is take it to the planning commission.
That might be. That's up to you.
It is, I just think the council deserves to know why this hasn't gone to the planning commission.
Well, it's not every project does. We've had several that have come to the council first to ask, what's your thought on this, kind of thumb in the wind, so.
And you know what happened on those?
It was mixed.
Planning commission gave the thumbs up, the council gave the thumbs up, and then when it came before them, planning commission changed their mind and it had a bearing on council. So, anyway,
it's good feedback.
I'm not a voter, so. No vote on this, so.
No vote, yeah. And just for,
let me just ask the council if they'd like to hear from the applicant this evening. Council, would you like to hear from the applicant? I think he is here, he drove up. Hey, I don't know who's.
I think we should hear from him.
Okay. I don't know if it's a him or her, or they or there.
It's Brock with Rainy Homes.
Brock from Rainy Homes, would you like to come forward and say a few words? Emphasis on a few.
I will not take up a ton of your time, Mayor, but it is, and this is probably my fault, so I apologize for putting Scott in this position if this is the inappropriate way to look at this, but this is an issue that we're dealing with here. And by the way, I'm Brock Johnston. I live in Syracuse, Utah. I've been with Rainy Homes for almost 20 years now. We are not a massive company, despite what a lot of people think. We have 8 employees in my office and probably another 7 out in the field. So the main purpose behind this really was to, you see behind me, there's a lot of interest in what we're looking to do here. And so if this wasn't intended for you to give some sort of approval or some sort of, yay or nay on the project, it's in very much a design stage. So I'm not looking to say, this is the final plat and this is what it is. But as you've seen, there's a lot of misconceptions and confusion. So when you come, having done this for 20 years now with Rainy Homes, if I just go straight to planning commission with a notice that's sent out to the citizens, they're kind of in the dark and showing up and doing what they've done today prior to even knowing why we're here and what we're doing and what the purpose is. And so there's probably a way that I could somehow gather the neighborhood in here prior to that and not involve the city council. Also, I apologize if this wastes your time.
No, it's not a waste of time. And I think Scott, I'm not criticizing Scott. I mean, he's made the decision. The council's more than happy to hear, so. Okay,
perfect. And I hope that it's helpful to the citizens too. And I'm looking, I look forward to their feedback and see what we do. So Woodfield Farms, we did not plan Woodfield Farms. We didn't come to planning commission for it. We didn't design it. I think we came back and redid a few things at the request of the city at the time that the original applicant had done and planned out Woodfield Farm, all 3 phases. And so we purchased it already pre-engineered, pre-designed, pre-platted. And then we've done the different developments upon it. Along the way, we have now purchased the property east of Woodfield Farms. And so this is a completely separate project from Woodfield. We are not looking to do, even though, you know, this could be looked at and see that this is single family or townhomes across the whole entire project. These are single family homes. They're homes that we do right now in South Jordan. These don't look anything like townhomes. And I'd be happy to share with them afterwards and that, but what we're looking to do is to do proper planning. We've gone from an area and time, and let me just kind of go through some of the just quick numbers. Phase 1 of Woodfield Farms, first 33 lots. The average home price was $333,000. I went and looked at every single home price this year. At today's interest rates of approximately 7.25%, you're looking at a 5% down payment conventional loan. You're looking at like $2,600 for a house payment on that. Phase 2, the average price went from 333 to 379. Phase 3 went from 379 to 523. This year, 2023, we've only closed 3 homes in this last phase, phase 3, and the average price is $608,000. And I know the easy thing to do is to say, well, geez, you guys scored big. You bought this land way long ago, and here you're selling homes for $608,000. We're not making tremendous windfalls of money. I still live in the same home out in West Syracuse that I've lived in for the last 8 years. It's not about making an absolute fortune. What it is about is looking at the housing issues that we have today and the ability for people to afford a house and to be able to move in this. Just to give you some idea, that $608,000 house at today's interest rate is about a $4,500 a month payment. There's not a ton of people that can fill 13 acres worth of land for $4,500 a month. I can't. I truly cannot afford a $4,500 payment. And so it's hard to look at this and say, okay, what are our options? What can we look at? How do we do this? If we were to put this in as a straight and design it how the people who designed Woodfield Farms today and have those same lots, what ends up happening in order to just sell them and to make them marketable is you either have to scale them back and strip them down to minimal aspects to try and get the price as low as you possibly can. Or there's the second aspect that Scott mentioned, the legislature, because they know there's a housing shortage, because they know that it's an affordability crisis. I mean, the governor tweeted out yesterday that if we don't produce 35,000 starter homes, which none of these are starter homes, we don't get 35,000 starter homes out in the next 5 years, we're going to see a crisis of all of our youth and young people leaving this state because they can't be here, can't afford it, can't afford to live. So we have to start looking to be a little bit creative of how we do this. But if we just put the same old thing and we slap those lots on there, you're going to have scaled back housing and do that way. Or you're going to, each one of these single family lots or homes are going to be duplexes. They're going to be basement apartments in every one of them. So now we're looking at 74 lots times 2, and there's 150 different households that are going to be in those homes. Because in order to afford a $4,500 payment, I better be getting $1,500 out of my basement just to get by with my $3,000 payment. So just to give some context of what we're trying to do, and I graciously accept the feedback. I've been doing this a long time. I feel for you. I've come into these meetings and typically Rainy Homes, we build high-end homes. What we do across most of the Wasatch Front is our average home price is about $1 million. We have 2 projects, one in South Jordan and one here in North Ogden. That the home prices aren't that price point, but it's the location of the land and what is that's there. So the idea behind this concept is that they would be single family homes. They do have a shared access, a shared driveway, but they're all 2-car garages. The key with increasing the density of those single family homes and making them on smaller lots is 2 things. I guess possibly even 3. The city would have the say in what the architecture of these homes look like. We'd be doing a development agreement, and the city council, the city staff would have a say and say, this is what you're building, okay, this is what we will accept here. If you just do Woodfield Farms, it's whatever the market will bear, whatever the market will take. The second item is just the aesthetics of the community, being able to have open space, being able to have trail systems, parks. The world has changed in how that works. The world, younger people, younger families, they'd love to have the land. They'd love to have a big yard. The cost of it is just extremely prohibitive. And that's just a reality that we're all dealing with. And so the next best thing is that we have open spaces and open areas and open spots. The third item would be that I would say is the affordability. It's the way that you can have a really nice home and still have it come in, at $70,000 to $100,000 less than what this other house is going to cost. And so these homes we sell currently in South Jordan for about $600,000. Here, where our goal would be to be in the low $500,000 range. I mean, the cost to build housing is just expensive. It just is. We could take whatever money that we increase density and put it into the amenities of the community, put it into beautification. The other aspect is there's a ton of issues with the drainage in this whole area. There's water under the ground, there's pipes running through the ground, there's different things. And so when you have a single family home community, a traditional one like Woodfield Farms, every single, and one gentleman did mention this, and it's true. And it's hard from a small business owner like us that every single lot owner is responsible for their own landscaping. So if somebody decides to landscape it a certain way or do it a certain way, they have to work with their neighbor. If they don't work with their neighbor and it becomes a problem sometimes, and I'm not going to say that Rainy Homes is perfect. We are far from perfect. We have plenty of our issues, plenty of our problems, but we've been around for 25 years. We have a good reputation across the board. I've served as the president of the Home Builders Association for this whole area, all of Davis and Weber County. This is about transparency, and it's about talking through this and saying, okay, what makes sense here and what is a good way to go about this. These would be all fully landscaped properties. The draining and all of that would be engineered and done as a mass grading project. You wouldn't have the issue of, I did my lot and I landscaped it a certain way and the neighbor wanted to do something different and they landscaped it their way. So now I've got puddles in my yard, or I got things that don't work, and now we got to put in a drain and all that stuff. So, and different cities are requiring different things. There's a city up in Davis County that is requiring yard drains to be put in every single development to just try and alleviate this type of issue. So anyways, in a nutshell, the idea would be it would be single family homes up until the Monroe area. Once you approach Monroe, an 80-foot right-of-way road, Monroe is going to be a busy road. And aesthetically, what we tried to do, these types, and I've got some photo examples of the type and style of townhomes that we'd be looking at, and nothing against a lot of townhomes, but the type of townhomes we'd be looking at is not garages that are across the front yard. As you drove along Monroe, you wouldn't see a pile of just garage with a door. Not to disparage anything like that, but these would not be, the design of how this is right here is that the garages would enter in from behind. And so what you see in the front would be more like picket fences, whether it's craftsman style design or different things, but it'd be more along the lines of something like this, not just garage door across the front. So aesthetically, there's good ways to do this. And so that's what we're shooting for. And we came here with a preliminary idea and just trying to do development with some thought and creativity. It's not about killing it and hitting the biggest home run. It is about being able to sell property. I mean, like I mentioned, we've sold 3 homes because they're $600,000 and $700,000, and we can't go out and sell homes for free just we'd be out of business. I wouldn't have a job. I'd have to go find something else to do. So we do have to make money. We are a small business and that's what we're attempting to do. We're not looking to, you know, to take it off of anybody's backs or anything like that. So anyways, questions, thoughts, that's really all this was about. I wasn't looking for you to say, you know, hey, all these guys have all these concerns, but we love it, go for it, you know, so.
So if I understood this right, the home prices would be minimum 500,000, did I hear that?
The single family homes, yes. The townhomes, I'd hope that we could get them down to $400,000 would be ideal.
And it's an HOA, so it'd be HOA fees on top of it.
And typically the HOAs can be, we wouldn't have a clubhouse, we wouldn't have a pool, we wouldn't have things like that. So it's yard maintenance and it's maintenance of stuff, which people are gonna have that if they have their own lot and things put in as well, so.
Council, any questions? Councilman Delphins.
Yeah, I had a resident email that had a concern about the open space. Would it be an HOA open space, or is there a possibility that you guys could create a space that's deeded over to the city where it's a city park? Because the only problem that a lot of people would have is they wouldn't be, even the neighborhood next to it, in theory, I don't know if they'd be allowed to go play in that space because they're not HOA owners. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. Having gone through this process and looking at some of the potential pitfalls in that, and this would just really be on the city's end of things, and city staff could probably explore this, but once it's a city property, then it's city maintenance and those types of things. And so if you have the ability, there's nothing here that for me, if we were to go and you know, like I say, it's a development agreement. So part of that development agreement would be that, okay, here's the amenities we're gonna put in, here's the landscape, the open space. And this whole section will have it be a city so that the residents of Woodfield Farms, which if you notice the design of it would be just right up there by the entrance to the Woodfield Farm property owners. That's where we would kind of have those things. I've got a little picture of just, I took, this is a Kaysville community that has kind of a top lot that's like that has stuff there. So, and we'd be open to doing any of that. We're not looking to just have this exclusive neighborhood with open space and nobody else gets to touch it. But there are some complications that have to be worked out just because maintenance, parks and maintenance and things like that.
Could you address the citizens' concerns? I don't know if you were here earlier regarding traffic.
Yeah.
And not having everything coming out on small streets.
Yeah, and I had a personal issue that cropped up, but I did hear I was here on the call or on the Zoom call, so I heard every comment. So if we could go back, Chad, to the main plan. So from a traffic standpoint, and I'm just gonna kind of walk over here, hopefully everybody can hear me. So the idea, and this is what I've mentioned, is that we would really look to get this section finished first. And I know that the city staff had expressed that if we came over here, really, they'd like to figure out somehow to get this aspect of Monroe completely done, not just our half. I mean, we're only responsible for half of it, but you know, or half the road here. But this would be phase one, coming straight across and completing an aspect of Monroe to be able to get out here. So it'd be here and here. And then we, you know, I haven't really looked at phasing out, but we'd probably come up this way, going in that direction. So, but.
So the other half of the road obviously would be nobody but the city.
On this side?
Yeah, on the other side of the road.
Yeah.
How long is that? I mean, that'd be quite an expense to put that other side of the road.
Well, and that's why I say there was always, I mean, and I don't know what the statutes are, you know, I'm not an attorney, but as far as an 80-foot right-of-way road, what we could possibly do, and this is what I taught, or staff had mentioned might be something, is that we finish the road out of our pockets and there's a payback agreement of some sort from the city, because it is the city's responsibility or whoever develops on the other side of the road one day. And that's what's tough. It's, you have these big areas that are pre-planned out across the city, and every city does. And there's an 80-foot right of way and it's not typical in the neighborhood. I mean, I'm with these guys. I'd love to see 1700 have curb and gutter up and down the whole sideway. The only place that has curb and gutter on it is the stuff that I put in. So, I mean, it's tough.
Any other quick, Councilmember Barker?
You might be coming at the wrong time. The council's issue with development agreements are not great right now.
Yeah.
And we're just curious how many amendments we make to the development agreement and how many amenities that are promised actually can be put in.
So in what aspects of?
We don't have a great track record with them.
So I would suggest.
So when you're
that-
saying that there seem to be development agreements, I don't like them.
So we've worked in, I mean, I've done a lot of development agreements. I mean, we've our entire project, I mean, we've been in Daybreak since it opened up. That's all a big development agreement. We've worked in smaller projects with development agreements. One of the things to make sure that there's enforcement of a development agreement is the bonding. I hate it. I don't love to put a bunch of money until the park's built, but by means, if I'm gonna pull a building permit and I promise that this is going in, that's one way to do it. I have to take my cash, put it up and say, this is here for the city. So, I mean, from a development agreement standpoint, I think there's some things that probably should and make sense that if this was done based on you doing this and me doing this, you know, as far as the city or the buildings go and the architecture and design, if that's part of the development agreement and it comes into a building permit and it's not that, and it's something completely different, then there is no building permit. So I'm confused as to how that comes about where there's, where we have people that aren't doing stuff that's in the development agreement.
And let me, maybe I'll clarify a little. We're trying to plan today off of today's standards for the future.
Yeah.
And things change. And so that's my hesitancy with development agreements is, I don't know what's gonna happen, so why try to not just handcuff you, but handcuff the whole development because of what happens in the future.
Sure, yeah. And that's, I mean, the same thing happens with zoning and ordinances. You can zone something to one aspect or another, and then if times change and people come in and say, hey, times have changed, we need to rezone this to something else because it doesn't work anymore the way that it was planned. So that's how I would see that issue, not being a whole lot different from a development agreement than from a zoning issue. Either way, in order for it to change, it has to come in front of this body and be approved that way, in my thinking or understanding.
I think we've learned, details in development agreements are important and flexibility is important. So John, I have a question. If I understand this property is zoned RE20, minimum half-acre lots currently.
Mhm.
Has there been any commitment to zone anything other than RE20? And what does the general plan say on this?
But not that I'm aware of, and I'm pretty sure the general plan would show it as that yellow, small, low density residential, which is everything R18 to RE20, and includes even some of that R15 stuff that we've done recently.
Wasn't there another developer that approached us on doing an interesting development in this area different than historically had? I think Mr. Carson Jones approached the council some time ago.
I don't know about this area.
Seems like it was in that part of the city. Where it was. You talking about the Quail Ponds area? Quail Ponds. Isn't that, I mean, it's not right here, but it's in this area.
It was the connecting piece between Ward Ponds and Quail Pond 6, John. We wanted to do Quail Pond 6.
Okay, so, okay, yeah.
Any other questions? So what advice would you like to give tonight?
No, I think this is good. I mean, I don't want to force you into saying anything that you don't want to say, or that, to be careful of, it didn't even cross my mind that would be an issue that's not going to planning commission first. I think this has been beneficial. I'd be happy to stick around and answer questions. I'm not, like I said.
And the council may not be concerned about it going to planning commission first. That's why I'm going to take a straw poll right now. Did you want to start, Councilmember?
No, I'd just like to make a comment before you start your straw poll, I would encourage you not to do a straw poll. Simply because council was changing, right? We've got a 40% change in council makeup starting here in just a couple of weeks. I won't be on council anymore, so my comments won't certainly carry over into next year. I think council, the planning commission, the future planning commission and council though, should take to heart the state's intent. Reading between the lines is, talking to the individuals that you do in the circles that you run in, Mayor, and talking to individuals. I'm looking at the press release that Governor Cox made just on December 5th, so just a few days ago, right? Announcing their homelessness initiative and their affordable housing initiative. It's a $150 million investment towards having 35,000, let me repeat that, $150 million and 35,000 new starter homes built by 2028. That's Governor Cox's goal, Lieutenant Governor Henderson's goal. That's the legislature's goal. I can guarantee you that they are prepared and have been for several years as we've been watching, Mayor, are prepared to take the necessary steps for that to happen. Because communities have not been taking the necessary steps. Everybody wants to have large lots. Everybody wants to have large homes around them and by them. That's led to the housing crisis that we have. And whether we like it or not, folks, if the state finally steps in, and I think they're exceptionally close to doing it, especially with the governor coming out with this proposal and announcing that his goal is to get 35,000 starter homes built in the next 5 years. Where is it that they released this statement? I think where they released it is telling, at least for us. They released it in West Haven. That's a pretty clear signal, folks, to Weaver County and the folks of us up here north, and the lack of zoning that we've been willing to do in our communities for smaller lots, for smaller homes. There's a pretty clear signal that's being sent by the legislature, by the governor and by the lieutenant governor. If you think zoning is miserable now, wait till the state takes it over. Ask the folks in California how that's gone for them when the state took it over. We have to be, I'm not saying that what Rainy Homes is wanting to do is the right thing for this area. What I'm suggesting is that as a future council and planning commission, we have to be open to thinking outside the box and be willing to push some boundaries a little bit, because if we don't, the state's going to do it for us. And instead of an area like this being some single family homes that are similar to the ones we have just off of Washington, off of 2600 over here, that you have 4 homes in an area, they're all separate, but they share a driveway, those kinds of things. You're going to see something like this that's going to be an R2, where you have 18 units to the acre, because the state doesn't care, right? They're looking to solve a crisis, and they're going to solve it on our backs if we don't work to try to do something. Again, not saying that this is appropriate for this area. I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm refraining from making that judgment because I don't have to make that. Good luck to the new council members and to the existing council members. But I do think that we have to start taking seriously the very thinly veiled and now I think more overt threats that are coming from the state to let us know you guys are not doing it, and so we're going to do it for you. And if that happens, you're going to wish something like this showed up if the state takes over.
And the conversation I had with one of the state leaders, I asked, well, why are you doing this?
Right.
Obviously, some of the things you mentioned, but they were doing us a favor, so we didn't have to face public. And I said, well, we're big boys and girls, we can face the public. So I appreciate your comments. Even though you won't be here, you won't be here, and Councilmember Short won't be here. The majority of the council will still be here. Last I checked, 3 council members can pass an ordinance. But I agree with the fact that, we do have new council members coming on, but I think we go some direction, whether it's back to the planning commission. Otherwise, what do we do here? We just kind of kick this down the road. So I won't ask you, Councilmember Swanson, but I
Oh, you
will.
can ask me.
Nah, I decided I'm not gonna ask you. Pence. Go ahead.
I think Councilman Swanson has a good point. But one thing I wonder about, I just don't know if the state does take control. We have no way of saying how good or bad it's going to be. Maybe the worst case scenario is this entire, I don't know if it's 6, 7 acres or what it was. 13, oh, way off. So 13 acres, maybe it's 13 acres of townhomes. I don't know. And I don't think that would be forced on us, but that's just something that could happen in the future. So, I came into this meeting thinking, well, the general plan says that it's larger lots, and I would consider R-1-8 as larger lots, just with how things are these days. And so I came into the meeting thinking, that we would suggest that you go with our R-1-8 to match the area. And that's kind of like that's my instinct. That's where I want to go with it. I'm actually very surprised that there aren't more residents that are talking about the open space. And the reason that I say that is not now, but 20 years from now. I think is that green area at the top, is that the 3.5 acres, or is that adding all the?
No, it's adding all the green. It's adding all the green.
How many acres is that section at the top, that big green section?
And this is the city's just so.
Up top. The big green one up top.
Up here?
Yeah, approximately how many acres is that?
Oh, gosh, I should have had that known. Probably 1.5 acres, something like that, maybe 2 acres. We purchased it just recently. We purchased that piece of property this year. And we purchased it with this type of thought in mind, to do something like that, to have that be more of an open space. It's kind of an awkward piece. They've gotten to know the landowner very well. He now works for us. We've gotten to know so well. And that came about completely after a property was purchased. He was let go of his existing company. I hear kind of chuckles and things like that. He's a very nice guy. He does warranty work for us, and this was already.
So my thought being 20 years from now, believe it or not, 2 acres, it might feel like a pretty decent little space within North Ogden, sadly, because it continues to develop, it continues to change. So I'm just kind of trying to put on my goggles into the future. Right now, it doesn't seem very exciting, but I wonder if everyone would be happy that it's there. I was looking at the aerials of this area to the east towards Fruitland. There's a big, I think about 15-acre farmland that's still there, looks like it's alfalfa or something. I imagine that will fill up at some point, and so there's spaces that are dwindling. So I don't know what Councilmember Barker is going to say, but I would say stay with R-1-8, even though I see some potential of what you're trying to propose here. And the reason that I say stay at R-1-8 is because of what our general plan says right now, is that they should be larger lots. And yes, maybe we in 2, 3, 4 years, whenever the state imposes their will on us, it might be a little scary, but it's hard because we don't have a crystal ball.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilmember Delpaz. Councilmember Barker, do you have some comments?
Yeah, I think so. I agree a lot with what Councilman Delpaz said. The reason I voted for the townhomes earlier tonight is because it's part of the general plan. That's the whole reason, because it was approved as part of our general plan. That's why I'd say, as of right now, I'm gonna follow our general plan. I know maybe it'll get taken away, but that's what it's planned for right now. So I'm listening to what the citizens have spoken up for.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Severin.
Thank you, Mayor. My feeling is with the amount of townhomes that we currently have approved in the city, which are a little bit more conveniently located off of Washington. I think we have quite a few already approved, so I personally would like to see us stick with the general plan idea on this area as well. So I'm not in favor at this point of townhomes. I would like to see, and I'm grateful that Councilman Swanson and Brock also mentioned Governor Cox, but being in the real estate business myself, we kind of need that. We need that single family home. So, Mayor, I'm just kind of sticking with the general plan and not favoring townhomes in this subdivision.
Okay. Councilmember Swanson, did you really want to say something else?
I wish the council and planning commission a lot of luck. Because the decision's gonna rest in their hands, and I have no doubt in their ability to analyze and to look at this and to do what they feel is best and is right at the moment. So good luck, council and planning commission.
Councilmember Delapass.
One last thing, I mean, it's currently zoned RE20. And I can't speak for Councilmember Barker and for Severin, but I would be very comfortable having it zoned R-1-8 to match the area. So, you know, we are making a concession to Rainy Homes to allow them to zone it for higher density than it already is.
All right. So I give you some direction and
Yeah.
I guess, you know, there is always a chance for modification. This one obviously is not being accepted, but if you have
Well,
any
and
other ideas-
this is exactly what it came to, I mean, for me, I just feel like that, and we'll talk with the citizens, because ultimately their opinions seem to weigh a little more on even, you know, on city councils, which one of the big issues with that being is that they're just not gonna be, it's gonna be ugly.
One of the things that
It's just to get the price down to the point where people can actually buy this, it will be basement apartments.
They all sold.
And
Well, and you know,
they all
maybe.
sold for $333,000 and to $500,000.
Hold it, out in the audience, hold it.
Yeah, we make $1 million homes.
Hold it, no comments, please, until we get to public comments. You know, I think if you listen closely, and I think it was a good point, you know, maybe some of the opinions would change if the traffic flow was changed somehow. That might be something you look at.
Sure, absolutely.
I think that was a major, because if you stop and think about it, we have other areas in this, up in Lakeview Heights, there are some townhomes up there mixed in with single family homes. But I think the major thing I heard is the fact that, and once again, you know, we have to govern not on emotion, but on reason and facts. And I think there's some good reasoning on the traffic flow.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe you should talk to the citizens. I think it's very dangerous to say, I don't want a townhouse in my area. I know that's not the preferred thing, but it's gonna happen. It's just when it's gonna happen. So maybe you talk to the citizens about the traffic flow and see if there's some change of opinion. So, but
no, absolutely.
I think you've got direction this evening, and you know, I wish we had some control over the schools, but by law, we cannot stop development. Citizens think we can stop it, but by law, we cannot. If it's zoned that way, then we have to comply. And so maybe some modifications, talking to some of the folks here, but you know, there are good people that live in townhomes. So
no doubt about it. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, council. Appreciate that discussion. We're now gonna hear from Ryan again. He's going to present our meeting schedule. Under ordinance of 2023-23. So Ryan, would you like to address the council?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. We have the notice of the annual meeting schedule for 2024 ready. The regular city council meetings for the 2024 calendar year will be on the second and fourth Tuesdays of every month. Work sessions may be held on the first and third Tuesday of the month as needed. Meetings will begin at 6 p.m. The Planning Commission, the Land Use Authority, will meet the first and third Wednesday of the month at 6 p.m. The Audit Committee will meet quarterly at 6 p.m. on a Thursday. The Barker Park Committee will meet on the fourth Wednesday of each month at 6 p.m. And the RDA, CDA, Arts Guild, Economic Development Committee, Citizen Budget Subcommittee, and the General Plan Advisory Committee will meet when called upon. And we'll just look for that approval.
And just one comment on the Barker Park Committee. I think it's essential that we make a decision on that relatively soon. So I think this gives us some leeway if the committee wanted to meet more than once a month to get this project plan put in place so that we don't drag this on right into the summer. I think there's some things that could be done. Does this provide for that opportunity, or do we have to special meeting that?
It would be a special meeting.
Councilmember Dowpatch, you're signed on that.
What if the chair of the committee promises efficiency and in the 1 month of meeting? You know, I'll try my best to do that. And then if we do have to make a change.
We have that under a development agreement?
Yeah, let's put that under a development agreement, please. No, but yeah, I'll try my best to keep it moving efficiently.
Okay, so that meeting will run from 6 till midnight. Okay.
That's, if it needs to be, I'm committed.
All
I don't know
right.
if the committee.
You've heard Ryan, she's presented the meeting times. Do we have a motion to approve that? This is the ordinance 2023-23 regarding the meeting schedule for fiscal year 2024.
Mayor, I'll move that we approve ordinance 2023-23, committing the future council to a meeting schedule. Sorry.
Okay, we have a motion by expiring council member Swanson. We have a second to that.
Second.
Second by council member Dowpatch. Any further questions? Arthur? Sure. As I heard, there's a squeak from that side of it. Second by council member Barker. Any further questions? Okay, roll call vote on that. Council member Severing?
Yes.
Councilmember Swanson?
Yes.
Councilmember Barker?
Yes.
Councilmember Dowpatch?
Yes.
All right, that motion passes unanimously. We'll now move on to our council department reports. We'll hear, I don't know if Councilmember Severing, you have a report on the police department?
Yes, I sure do, Mayor. I talked to Chief, or I got an email from Chief Quinney, and there's a few areas he just wants to express gratitude. First and foremost is that the police department is being a sub-presenter for 6 families this year. So they'd like to express appreciation to everybody that made donations and participated in the charitable golf tournament. Reminder that during winter, we don't park on streets from midnight till 6 a.m. or following, let's see, remember to keep snow and ice off the sidewalks. It must be removed promptly and effectively. And last but not least, just an additional reminder that don't leave your car unattended if it's warming up in the morning or at any time. And that's all.
Thank you, Councilmember Severing.
Thank you.
Did Councilmember Ekstrom ask anyone to give the report on public works? She asked you, John, did you want to give that report on public works?
I shook my head the wrong way, I guess.
Oh, okay.
I can tell you that the first snowstorm, as we all know, was a little bit abusive on the police as well as Public Works. It was pretty constant for 72 hours. They are out and about, trying to get ahead of the leaves again. It's dried out a little bit, and we are focused on getting all of our catch basins cleared, and things, but it's a constant battle to keep those cleared so that the stormwater system runs properly. Those are the big focuses going on right now.
It was an interesting snowstorm. Usually we kind of come into it softly. That was pretty heavy, and it was really interesting because I was on my way from where I live down to the lighting ceremony and welcoming Santa into the city. It's amazing the difference in the level of snow we get in this city. It's incredible. And so, as I think I saw that in the Connection magazine maybe about, or on Facebook, the fact that there is a priority in getting the streets cleared, and we try to be equitable and get it done, but it's quite a process if you think about it. And I just want to add to John's comments. You probably heard those trucks going by your house at 2 or 3 in the morning. Public Works, they're troopers, and they do what it takes to keep our city as safe as they can. So please pass on the council's appreciation, John, for their efforts. If you would. Councilmember Barker, did you have anything you'd like to report for this evening?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I spoke with Jay, but I forgot to ask about parks. But next week, it's Monday through at Barker Park, the nativity, the live nativity, come visit it. They have all the good stuff up there. And then we had that lighting ceremony at Barker Park with Santa. We had a smaller crowd because nobody could get there. It was a good night.
It was snow.
And there's not a lot going on with parks at this time of year.
Yeah, so
they're plowing streets.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember.
20th to 23rd, Barker Park be there. There you go.
There's the live nativity is at 6:30, 7, and 7:30.
Anything else, Councilmember Delpas? Would like to add there? Have you ever thought about being on Jeopardy? Or
Just a little assist.
All right. Public comments. Now, if anyone would like to make any comment further this evening, you step up to the podium and state your name. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. And John, if you watch online.
Bob Buswell, 962 East, 3025 North. I was wondering if I could use the board over here.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, Rob, keep me to 5 minutes.
Okay.
Struggling.
Next door.
Can't read my writing very well. It's west is north, east and south. This is Weaver High School over here. And the road comes like this, and that is 3100 north. And the road comes down here, and that is 450 east, Washington Boulevard extended. And it goes south here, and this goes east over the pass, North Ogden Pass. Okay, you're coming this direction, and there's a marker right here. And there should be an arrow right here that goes this direction. And it's not there. And there's another place right here where you know that you can go east. So if I can just take this area right here, this is north. The cars right here are sometimes going straight and there's only one place to go. And it happened for the 5th time today for me, and I've got a hold of Dave and he's really busy. Is it Espinoza?
Okay.
And I appreciate that what Public Works does, but what I'm suggesting is an arrow that shows to the north, and this shows to the south and to the east. I don't know if that makes sense, but what happens is 2 vehicles try to go east. You can't do it. There's no place to go. Does anybody know about that? Has that happened to anyone? I appreciate that. We haven't had a wreck there. Maybe we've had them. I'm not sure. But there's 2 vehicles that try to go only on one lane to the east. Any questions?
Not elected yet, but John, I think this is the same issue we discussed. Citizens said there's no marks there. I think there's marks up above on the.
There's signs on the poles as well as signs further back, but people don't always see them.
Yeah, but I think we're, as soon as the weather warms, the information I received is we have to wait for the weather warm up to paint the directions on there, but there are markings up above, but I think people are used to what you're saying there. So, Dave indicated as soon as it's warm enough to paint the lines on there, he's gonna get it.
I'd appreciate it.
So, yeah, we are aware of that. So. Okay, Bob, thank you for bringing that up.
Great artwork.
Should have gone to engineering school, Bob. Okay,
I just have one, I guess, question, there would be. I'm Denise Burrows, I'm a North Ogden resident. A lot of talk has been mentioned about Utah legislature putting pressure on all of the cities for the multiple housing units. I'm wondering if there's any quantification of that for the city? Has there been any, I mean, is there a way, since you are dealing with it during these meetings, and if you had some sort of figures that could tell you what percent North Ogden sits at today?
yeah, we do have that. We have to submit a
Do you-
affordable housing report to the state, and then they have to approve that. The problem we have is they look at Weber County and they say, well, gosh, North Ogden only has 2% of the affordable housing, multi-housing. Well, when you look at it as a percent of what's in our city, it's much greater than that. But we get lumped in with the whole county. And of course, Ogden City has like, 40 or 50%. But yes, we do have that report. In fact, Scott now is reporting the number of lots we have entitled for that. And that's what I'm saying is the council looks at this, trying to keep that in balance, because the last thing we want is too much.
Right.
Then it doesn't get filled, right? Then we have blighted areas. So the council, and Scott is really good. He's, in fact, we were one of the first cities to get our plan approved. There were, like 35 cities or something that got their plans rejected.
There were 8 that got through out of 80 cities that were required.
We were one of the 8. So we do monitor that very closely. We
It
don't
would be
need
helpful to
title.
see that as citizens as well, to see, when we're in meetings like this, to discuss areas like ours. Why would we have to have this?
Well, the great thing is now we have a commitment from everybody that's here tonight to come regularly. And we do address those issues. So thank you for coming and committing to continue to come to our council. We'd love to have you. Okay.
I know everybody's probably itching to get out here, but Austin's able to get North Ogden to
a resident. I just want to thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members for the time. But I hope you've witnessed just a little bit of how strong our area is over in Woodfield. Most of which are not natives to North Ogden, and how much we love what's going on here in North Ogden. Some things that I wanted to make mention to you. I was a resident in the Cold Springs Village and lived in a townhome. Fortunate enough to have one of the long driveways, which made it very beneficial when family, which Utah is heavily known for having families, was able to park. Some things that were presented in the plan from Rainey is lack of driveways. Alleyways doesn't provide a driveway for visitors. The comparison of we're building these places or these homes in South Jordan doesn't belong in North Ogden when we're a fourth of the population of South Jordan. And nobody from my experience, previous knowledge and experience from being part of the Cold Springs HOA is an HOA is very burdensome to the individuals. It is something that will never stay the same. It'll constantly go up and it'll constantly need care. I've witnessed garbage laying all over and nobody's willing to pick it up because they think it's the HOA's. When if it's on somebody else's property, they care about it and they will likely take care of it. I know that we've got a great thing going here, and that I believe in what a majority of the council members have agreed to. And but I also know that as members of Woodfield, we will show up and we'll show out, and that's what we'll do. So thank you.
That's for the commitment to come every week, I take it.
If we avoid that, I will come.
Stephanie Casey, North Ogden resident. Just wanted to tell you guys the lights at Barker Park are beautiful. It was fun to see Santa come in all the snow. But I'd like to encourage us. This is the third year I've noticed 20 live trees that are wrapped to rebar. I'd love to see us just plant them. I mean, that's clearly where the Santa house is staying. If we could just plant some pine trees where we know they're going instead of buying 20 live trees every year and wrapping them to rebar, that'd be cool. Thanks.
Dave Hume, I'm a resident of North Ogden. As you may know, I'm a mathematician, so some of these numbers that I keep hearing bother me, but I appreciate the director has went on the record correcting the minutes or the agenda. He took my first two agenda items from me, but you know, that number has continued. That 74 number, that isn't real, because 74 means you have no roads, has been repeated, and then it gets repeated again when it's doubled to 150 as a, well, I'll just put 150 units in there, which is obviously ridiculous. So I didn't really appreciate someone try to manipulate the crowd by just throwing a lot of numbers out there so quickly. Green space in a subdivision like this is a code word for I can't find a way to fit another house there. And if you have been around long enough to remember Lewis Peak, Roylands Farms, and I'm grateful that Quail Meadows got mentioned. They came in with those same promises. They added it. Quail Meadows and Roylands Farms at the very least ended up coming back to the city and deeding back to the homeowners because it was totally useless. So it's a nice thought, but in reality, it doesn't always pan out, especially for the HOA. That just becomes a headache for them. I'm definitely concerned about the density that's there, regardless of what the state legislature thinks, who, from all the comments I've heard tonight, has apparently forgotten that they are elected by me, and can be unelected by me. They should probably think about that next time they want to start bullying us. But the regardless of what you do here, it will continue to be adjacent to an RE20 parcel. And this plan, as it's been presented, does not really fit that area. And this isn't about anybody that lives in townhomes. My ward that I am a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints ward that I'm a part of has townhomes, it has apartments, it has single-family homes, it has patio homes, it has my house, which the front part was built in 1876. With all sorts of stuff, right? We all get along and we all love each other. It isn't about that. It is about the fact that the city has bent over backwards to add Patriot Point, Village of Providence Point, Cooperstown. I think it's disingenuous for anyone to suggest that we haven't done our part. I understand the numbers, and I understand that we should probably secede from Weaver County and make our own, but that's another night, and I only have a minute and 47 seconds left. I did want to mention, so again, I mean, the distance to public transportation is definitely something you have to consider when you're doing multifamily. And this would be one of the furthest from public transportation of any units that we have in the city. I'm pretty aware of what most things look like here. So there are a lot of concerns I had with this from the beginning. I don't like the narrow streets that remind me so much of Cold Springs. Again, I love my neighbors there, but they, and I don't think would argue with me, don't necessarily love the roads that are there, with the exception of 1525, which is the only city standards road that's there, which, by the way, I'm a little bit surprised that they haven't sued anyone yet for the fact that Cold Springs, the Woodfield Farms keeps driving through their streets that they maintain at their own expense. And I mean, somebody has got to figure out how to get Cooperstown through if that's going to be solved. But the last thing that I wanted to mention, was mentioned that nobody can afford a $4,500 payment. And he turns around and he suggests that these are going to go for $500,000. I'm sorry, nobody can afford a $3,700,000 payment either. There's just the math for you. I can appreciate that it's a little bit lower, but I can't afford that. I can't afford either one of those. So my final thing that I'll say is that building a smaller home doesn't mean that you have to have a smaller lot. One of the problems that our society has is excess. Our homes are too big. That's why they cost so much. The price of this property hasn't changed. They paid what they paid for it. Development costs have gone up. Building materials have gone up, but the price of the land hasn't gone up. They don't need to sell more homes in order to recoup the investment that they had, because that investment was fixed a long time ago when they purchased this, with the recent exception of that portion from Mr. Woodfield. That's something that we should be thinking about. I'm looking at my kids and I agree, they don't have a place that they can go. But they don't need a 2,500 square foot house either. When I bought my house, it was 1,000 square feet. So the solution is smaller homes and more flexibility from the city to add on to them later. Thanks.
Thanks, Dave. I would just like to make one comment in regards to saying the city has bent over backwards to get these projects done. As I look down here, I'm not sure, I think maybe one council member, and I'm not sure using the term bent over backwards. I think they're trying to balance things. So I would just make that comment.
I need to step out.
Okay, I don't think we have any voting things tonight, so enjoy your other appointments. Go ahead.
Mayor, I'll be really quick. So I've worked with cities.
Yeah, I'm sorry, can you state your name again? Just
Sorry, Debbie Sanchez, and I live at 68 North, 600 East, and I've worked for cities my entire career, and so I know what what you're going through, and I understand, and I'm gonna stand here tell you I appreciate what you do. I do. I'm on your side because I know what it's like, but now I'm on this side, and I didn't mean to infer that you guys wanted to raise taxes. I didn't know what arguments were being brought before you in order to try and get this through, and I was trying to get in front of it. And so I understand how, the tax and the services work. I moved out of North Ogden City and then came back, and I came back for a reason. I loved it here. When I lived here, I lived in a townhome. I don't make any judgment on that. It's not the townhomes themselves that I'm opposed to. But when you're buying a home, I did my due diligence. I worked for a city, I know, so I did my due diligence, and I called Scott and asked about the general plan, and he told me the general plan says this is what it's zoned for. I wasn't worried when I bought, and I plunked down that money, that I was gonna be now looking at what I tried to do my due diligence for, is that wouldn't be there. I just feel like, if a general plan is adopted, you kind of have faith in what that is. And then I understand that there are changes, but that area is not the right place for this plan. The traffic is still, it is an issue, you can address that bottom part. And still have, people are gonna go where it's convenient to go to the north. They're not gonna go down and around and come up to the north. They're gonna go through that subdivision. And then HOAs, thank you, Dave. HOAs I lived in a townhome, HOAs, they'll go up. And then you're gonna have them in here, I know, because I've been sitting in council meetings and they're complaining about the HOAs and they want you to fix it, okay? And then I came here, families can't afford homes. My daughter is living with me, my grandchildren, that's now my family that's living there. And that's the reason I bought the home that I did, was so that we could all fit there. And I bought that lot because I wanted my grandchildren to be safe. So I just wanted to bring that to you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Micah Mortensen. I live on 600 East as well. I just thought I'd share anecdotal information with you. I mean, it's just from my perspective, but my family, we moved into that house. We bought it from Rainy in February this year. And when we moved in, there were just two houses, the one on the corner that Lindsay lives in now, and then the one that we bought. And there was one across the street that was halfway done. And we said, oh, we're interested in that house, Rainy across the street. Can we wait until it's built? And they said, no, we're not working on it at all until we sell the two that we have. So we bought our house, and then the next day they had started work on the one across the street. And so in about March or April, they bought the one on the corner, and then the one across the street was finished. And it took about a month or maybe a month and a half, but it also sold. But in the presentation earlier, when it was said that only 3 houses were sold in the year, as far as I can tell, those were the only 3 houses that were available to purchase in the year. They've started a couple more houses now, but they're not finished. So if the concern is that people won't purchase the houses, I don't think that's a very good concern. They're not starter homes. My family only could afford it because we sold our previous home, but it's in the same market. So the house we bought 7 years back was worth enough that we could use the capital to buy this home, right? So just take that into consideration, I guess.
My name is Derek Staley, North Ogden resident, also in the Woodfield Farms community. So over the last 2 days, there's been a petition going around, and so far we've received just over 80 participants on that. I'd like to, I guess, submit that to the city recorder and go with that. But
thank you.
And then I also have a copy I emailed this out as well, but just so you have a physical copy of the latest. So I like numbers. That's how I understand things. So to the comment earlier of numbers maybe being misused, there was some comments of net versus gross density in how many homes can be built versus are built. Just for reference, phase 3, which is the phase that I live in, is 7.9 acres with 25 units on it, comes to a 3.1 unit acre ratio. Comparing that to the proposed 102 at 7.5 gross, you're more than double, and at 141% increase, going along with the comments of concerns with traffic and just general city ability to maintain and service those areas. Green space, I agree with comments made. When it's not available to the city, green space doesn't really make me interested in it, and the HOA controls those areas. I appreciate the comments from the council members as well as individuals that have participated. And just to go along with some comments that were made, I would really hope that any decisions that are made are based on the ability for us to control it in the now, and not say someday maybe the state will come in and take it over. I'm a firm believer of when I have control, I want to use my control. So I don't want to give it up before I have to. And as was commented before, I have the ability to vote for individuals to represent me in those areas. Let's see, what else was there? Just as another number or reference point. So there are 8 lots that back up the main field that is being looked at to be developed. And those 8 lots, for what is proposed on the other side of the property line, turned into 28 homes. So you're going from 8 single family homes to 20 family homes in the same space. And it's, again, the ratios are in individual areas of that 13 acres are, I guess, muddied by the fact that you have some useless property that counts as the green space of the whole development. So, but I appreciate the time of the council and the time of the community I live in. So.
You know, it's ironic, I must say, who is leading the charge for affordable housing and zoning in the state used to be our representative here from North Ogden. So citizens elected him, and he was the one making the charge. So he's now heading up, I think, the governor's Steve Walter, yeah, on affordable housing. So that's right. Got to get the people in there that represent. But you know, it's also too. There's it's hard to understand because of a lot of emotion. But you know, governments are bound by statutes and ordinances too. And you know, simply put, if we don't let people develop on the zone that their property's in, the options is to probably either get sued or buy the land. In this case, it is RE20, so the city doesn't have any obligation to upzone it. So, any other comments this evening?
Stan Stallings, Woodfield Farms. I appreciate what you do. I love North Ogden. I don't want to see it change. The only constant in life is that everything's going to. I just hope that a lot of planning goes into this, because you would have to put in Monroe, you'd have to widen 17th Street. It's going to be expensive. And I agree what has been said, that it would be best served if high impact or townhomes could be built where there is already public transit and there is a lot of open space around. But I love this city. I don't like to get on I-25 and go south at all. But thank you for what you do. I appreciate it.
Thank you, that's very kind. Appreciate it. All right, any other comments? John, anyone online?
No raised hands.
All right, then we will proceed to our next item on the agenda, which is comments from the council and staff and the mayor. I'm going to take the prerogative tonight to start our comments. First of all, I want to personally, on behalf of the council, thank Councilmember Swanson and Councilmember Ekstrom for their service. If you've attended last couple of meetings, I think I heard Councilmember Swanson say last council meeting was one of the most stressful and emotional meetings that he's participated in these 10 years here. Not complaining. Dave, you served on the council, you know it's not easy. It's hard because emotions get involved, but I just want to thank Councilmember Swanson and Councilmember Ekstrom for their service. Phil has served for 10 years and maybe not everybody agrees with him, but I could say in my experience with him, he is in his heart voted to keep North Ogden a great place to live. And sometimes it takes a lot of courage to do that. And Councilmember Ekstrom, even though this is her first term, I've appreciated her perspective on things and the difference she's made. So I'm going to, Councilmember Dowpatch, you're the last kind of sitting ongoing member here. But I'd like to give Councilmember Swanson just a couple of minutes to say what he'd like to say in regards to his service. This is his last council meeting. We won't be meeting on the 26th. Over 10 years, you've probably had several hundred.
Yeah, it's been a few meetings. Thank you, Mayor. I'm usually one that's short on words.
Really?
The regulars should be laughing at that. It's usually hard to shut me up. All I'll say is it's been a wonderful opportunity to serve. I've gotten to know staff and individuals and community members in ways that I never would have. Many people, I would say, probably 90% of the people that I know in the city never would have met in the way that I did, or get to know them personally, to interact with them if I hadn't had this opportunity to serve. I mentioned in a Facebook post after the election results came out that I've received a whole lot more than I've given individually. I've grown more, I've been taught more, I've received more personally from you, from the residents, those that I've had to serve with over the years. I've grown and gained more from it than I could have ever given. So I'm grateful for that. The future is bright. The city will continue to do well. We will continue to see issues that face us, that will challenge us and stretch us, and at times feel like we're pitting against each other. But in the end, we always seem to manage to come together and to find a way through and to find our way through. So I wish the best to the new council members. Good luck. It is, as I put in my Facebook post, you will have the greatest time of your life in some moments. In most moments, it'll be, it'll be okay. And in other moments, it'll be gut wrenching. It'll be absolutely. I think if there were one piece of counsel that I would leave for those that are continuing to serve and for the new, is that as council members, we take an oath to do two things. And that is to defend the Constitution of the United States and defend the Constitution of the state of Utah. We do not take an oath to grant favors. We do not take an oath to make one neighbor happy over another. And I hope that in all of the decisions that are made, your first question is, what does the Constitution say about this? Where does the Constitution stand? And you must fall on the side of the Constitution in every decision that you make. And you have to look at that. And sometimes that means you have to ask yourself, does Group A have a constitutional right? And does Group B? And oftentimes only one group has a constitutional right. And you have to favor them because of the Constitution. But you will love it. I hope your service is as long and glorious and fun as mine has been. The field trips to residents' homes, right, Christina? All of the, Chris, the field trips to your house, all of the things that we have had the opportunity to do over the last 10 years. And good luck on the budget. That's all I could say. Good luck on the budget. It's always a lot of fun. And you'll see my face on Tuesday nights. I'm going to sit here in the peanut gallery with the other peanuts out there and enjoy seeing things from that siding, being limited to a maximum of 10 minutes per meeting of making comment.
Thank you.
But thank you for the opportunity the last 10 years. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the service, and I have a feeling Councilmember Swanson will stay involved in keeping North Ogden a great place to live.
Absolutely.
He does this out of definitely not for pay, out of the sense of wanting to make us better and having a great. The other thing I would mention is we are fully aware of comments that have come to us regarding safety in the city and lighting. And we will follow the guidelines that have professionally been put together as we review those. So those comments haven't gone unnoticed. With that, staff, Scott, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, just one.
Yeah.
The comments for our active transportation plan are available now. That was promoted on Facebook last Thursday, and I'll ask Katie to promote that again this week. So anybody who wants to provide comments, click on the story map, scroll to the bottom, and use the map tools as they discussed there to provide comments on bicycle and pedestrian routes and facilities and upgrades in the city. Those comments will close December 22nd.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Call, do you have anything else you'd like to add this evening?
Just a reminder, tomorrow, we expect you to be there. And then also on January 2nd is when we'll do the swearing in. So we'll do an open house and stuff on that day. So for those who are now attending to all our meetings, come, there'll be treats.
Yeah. Yes, I failed to mention that. Thank you. On the 2nd of January, when we swear in the new council members, we'll have an open house welcoming them, but we'll also be honoring Councilmember Ekstrom and Councilmember Swanson. Ryan, do you have anything else?
No, sir.
Chief, do you have anything else? Our police chief's been here with us the whole meeting, out here protecting the citizens and the council. Anyone else? Okay. Councilmember Dalpas, do you have anything you'd like to say this evening?
Just that your words were so great towards Councilman Swanson and Councilor Ekstrom. I echo those comments. It's been such a pleasure working with both of you. I have learned a lot. Philip especially has served as a personal mentor to me when I was getting ramped up on the council, and I will be forever grateful for his help.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Severin.
Well, Mayor, thank you. Just two things really quick, but I also wanted to tell Councilman Swanson how much I appreciate him. He and I have been friends for many, many years, and I foresee having an incredible future and incredible friendship in the future as well. And I appreciate my relationship and what Councilwoman Ekstrom has also taught. So thank you. Appreciate that, and I appreciate your service, Phil. Just two things really quick, John. I want to make sure that that prescriptive easement that we've been talking about at the mouth of Coldwater hasn't gotten forgotten. And then the second thing is I had a citizen who lives on Alberta reach out to me recently, and he and his wife are a little concerned that sometimes the students after high school are traveling pretty quick down Alberta. So I wonder if we couldn't get maybe some police presence there for foreseeable future. Other than those two things, Mayor, that is all that I have.
I did see the chief give a thumbs up on that, so I'm sure we'll have that.
Thank you.
I hope you've seen tonight how local government works. If I could give any advice, sometimes it's better to get involved early on in the process instead of when things are right at their peak. So that's my plea to you, to be involved in our city. As you can see, the issue tonight was talked a lot about in the general plan. And so it's good to be involved early on, I guess is what I'm saying, so that things can be worked out instead of when they hit the peak. And that's my invitation to all of you, to be involved in our community. You've heard me say in print and many times, North Ogden is a great place to live. It's a great place to live because of the citizens who live here. And so thank you so much again for your attendance tonight. Thanks for your courage to state your thoughts and your opinions. And you're always welcome to join us and make comments. So thank you so much. With that, I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
Mayor, move to adjourn.
Meeting is adjourned.